Crypto dads, imagine you're building the world's best treehouse. You got the wood, you got the tools, you got even the blueprint. But every time you turn around, your kids relocate your materials for their own projects. Sounds familiar? Definitely. Well, crypto communities face the same problem. Funding goes in, but sometimes the real builders get left out. Enter Thrive Protocol. Let's talk about how they're changing the game.
Yeah, and just like a great treehouse, a strong crypto community needs the right foundation, clear incentives, real builders, and sustainable growth. Otherwise, you just end up with a pile of expensive wood and broken dreams.
Welcome, everybody, to DadsGoneCrypto, where we decode blockchain madness and turn it into real-world wins. I'm Sean, a crypto dad, an optimist, and always exploring what's next and exciting in the crypto space.
And I'm Ryan, the old guy here that's seen every crypto cycle, studied every boom and bust, and believes that real innovation happens when incentives align. Today, we're diving into Thrive Protocol, one of those projects aiming to fix broken funding models in crypto. Let's welcome Matt Carano, head of content for Thrive Protocol.
Hey guys, so excited to be here. I'm happy to meet you both, and Sean, I love that you included optimist in your description of yourself. That's amazing. Like I think it's. I mean, you have to be right if you're in something like crypto. If you're a builder in crypto, what else can you be besides optimist? You're seeing that this technology has the chance to really change the world in a very positive way. More human liberty, more prosperity. The best coordination tool, in my mind, on the planet that we have. So anyway, I'm psyched to be here and to talk.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, if you're not an optimist in crypto, I think you're in the wrong place.
Sure.
And the nice thing about these highs and lows is that, being an optimist, you keep walking forward. The Johnny Walker story, Dad's like about a Johnny Walker. You just keep walking, right? They take one more step, no matter what's been thrown at you, and eventually the sun will shine, all right? Eventually you'll start to enjoy it, and eventually, things will come. But if you don't take that next step, then that's the travesty. You don't really move forward in any way. So, Matt, before we dive into to Thrive Protocol, tell us, what is your origin story in crypto? What was that light bulb moment? Or was it kind of like a slow burn into crypto?
Yeah, it was pretty early on, maybe 2013 or so, when a friend of mine introduced me to Bitcoin. Matt, you got to check this out. And I was in New Hampshire at the time. I'm from New Hampshire. It's a very liberty-oriented place to be, and so the native population pretty much is always kind of looking for or into privacy tools and all that stuff. So of course it was kind of a ripe haven for crypto adoption early on. So a friend of mine showed me that Bitcoin. Took me a couple times to get what it was. I read the white paper, but as soon as it did and clicked, and I realized the implications of what it meant, I was hooked. My wife and I owned a restaurant at the time. We started accepting Bitcoin. We're one of the earliest retail establishments to do that.
Nice,
OG.
Yeah.
And then I started working for Llamasu, which is one of the first Bitcoin ATM companies. I was with them for about a year. Eventually, found myself into Web3 when I realized smart contracts is the way to go. Like that's really what's going to be disruptive from a human population standpoint. And I ran into a project that I started working on called Swarm City, which is decentralized marketplaces and with reputational components, et cetera. It was very early on. The technology wasn't from a protocol standpoint was kind of tough. We were using IPFS and Whisper, which weren't really meant to do the type of throughput necessary for decentralized marketplaces. But I like to tell people no one's been rugged harder than me. We were hit through the Parity multisig wallet hack of 2017, which drained 3 projects. We lost 47,000 ETH before white hat hackers. Saved a bunch of projects. I tell people that multisig wallet was kind of industry standard at the time if you were an ICO. And so that exploit could have hurt hundreds and hundreds of projects, billions of dollars, but white hat hackers got in there, drained everybody's wallets using the same exploit, fixed it, put it all back, but too late for us. So we went on a bit longer, but we didn't have enough funding to work on the protocol level to fix things like Whisper and IPFS, or do our own thing to sort of make our through point work. We had an app, we launched it, it worked, it was really cool. Got into I did the at Gitcoin, I did the token and DAO launch, all the content for that in 20 or 21, something like that. And then did a few other OG projects until I took some time off last December. I was kind of burnt out and took maybe 3 or 4 months just making my own content and doing my own thing. But a mutual friend introduced me to Daniel Jacobs, who's the CEO and founder of Thrive. We talked over the course of a couple of weeks, really hit it off. Such an awesome dude. I loved Thrive like from the moment. I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense for what needs to happen in crypto to make crypto what we want it to be. And so joined in, I think, May, and I've been head of content in there kind of since. So that's my story.
Yeah, sure. Fantastic. Well, crypto has evolved an absolute ton since you got in the early stages there. So in your view, what's the biggest lesson that the industry still hasn't learned through all this evolution?
I mean, I think that there's a few big lessons. Like, number one, privacy should have been embedded in the technology right from the get-go. Honestly, like that, I think that stifled a lot of innovation. You can't really have decentralized marketplaces are super important to me. Being able to interact with anybody you want to in a peaceful, voluntary way can't really happen yet without privacy, because of course there are powers that be that don't want you to do certain things, even if you're two peaceful people doing peaceful things. So I think that was a big miss, and we really need to fix that problem. The other thing is everybody says this, but it's true. It's like crypto is a UX issue at this point. It's like it's very hard, and abstracting away, if you can abstract away all of the techie components of it to make it a lot more user friendly for the general person, people would use it, I think. So those are the two big things. I think privacy probably being the big one, because it's the next phase would be centralized marketplaces, which I think is super important. And then the one after that is crypto states. As soon as we have crypto states with, say, 1 million people across the world aligned by a value system operating with under the rules of a smart contract, opt in, providing services, goods and services like a state would, that's big enough to start to be able to lobby home states to allow for better tax status, whatever. Like, that's really kind of the name of the game is competition at that level, and we won't get there without privacy, I don't think.
Yeah, you're definitely right there. So let's talk about Thrive a little bit. Yeah. What's the biggest problem that Thrive protocol is solving right now?
Yeah, crypto does a great job saying that a interaction or a transaction is valid. We have a consensus mechanisms, we have a blockchain, public ledgers, whatever. We're very good at that. What we're not good at is verifying that value has been created. And what that means to me is, like, if you look at, I love crypto. I'm also an optimist too, Sean, and I love crypto.
Brilliant.
And I'm in crypto for philosophical reasons. You can probably tell by me the way that I'm talking about certain things. Philosophical reasons, but in order for us to achieve the crypto future that I want, or that I think most of us wants, we have to start directing a lot of misaligned capital, missed opportunities from things that are creating either very short-term profit-seeking, and I have no problem with profit-seeking, but very short-term thinking, fraud, Sybil attacks, spam attacks. I would imagine, I don't know, we should audit the blockchains and figure this out, but I would imagine that probably a majority of interactions aren't really very productive or very valuable, if you want to think about it in terms of building the long-term future that we want. And so if we can start to redirect those funds to impactful projects and people, we'll get to that crypto future much faster. And so Thrive solves that problem. By first of all, we partner with some of the top ecosystems in crypto, so Polygon and ApeCoin and Hedera and Arbitrum and et cetera, and they allocate part of their treasury to us, and then we in turn use that funding to go and find and fund impactful projects and people who will go and deploy or build or scale in those ecosystems. And because if we do that well, if we build those ecosystems well, we will those ecosystems, they have to spend their treasury, right? And like the problem is if they spend it in an inefficient way, it'll kill their ecosystem. Like I know a lot of DAOs who are kind of ghost DAOs now because they didn't spend their treasury well. And that treasury is like the dry powder that will make our crypto future happen. So if they can all on an ecosystem level, if we can help them spend that treasury super efficient to build their community, build all the amazing apps deployed in their ecosystem, building on their technology, then we get to the crypto future a lot faster. So that's what we do. Partnering with these great ecosystems, making sure that their treasury allocation is going to impactful projects and people. And we can dive into like more of the details and like how and stuff as we go. But in general, that's what Thrive is.
Amazing.
Yeah, you got me asking the question. Okay,
Yeah.
so they giving you part of their treasury to go and spend on developers and systems and protocols and all of that to help kind of obviously establish a better foundational platform to kind of bolster their ecosystem, right? So the question is, like, who's your team? Who do you give this money to? Who do you get to build? And how are your protocols? There's a lot of questions. And how are your protocols, sound enough to say, well, we're trusting you with this money to build this. And is this the correct way of doing it? Or is it your idea of what it should be? So there's quite a few questions there.
Yeah, I'll talk to you.
Quick
fire.
fire.
Talk you through the mechanics of how it works. So So an ecosystem partners with us. They allocate. It's millions. Like it's up to tens of millions. They'll allocate. So right now we have 70 million plus. It's I can't tell you the real amount because it's going up, and we haven't announced it yet. But it's over 70 million allocated to us right now, and we expect that's going to be in the hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion by the end of the year. So they partner with us. They allocate part of their treasury. And what happens is we form like a board with them. We with Polygon, it'd be Thrive Polygon, or Hedera, it's Thrive Hedera. And they sort of determine what are the right projects, builders, people, impactful projects that we need in order to grow our ecosystem. It could be a DeFi app, it could be RWA apps, it could be infrastructure projects, it could even be communities, et cetera. We sort of define that together. And then we go and we find those amazing, impactful builders and we get them funded for that. So, and how it works is the reason why we are able to say that we're efficiently using that capital for them. We're giving them positive return on investment because that's what it takes. Like they need to, if they allocate funds to us, their ecosystem needs to grow a certain percentage, a certain amount from that. And how we can guarantee that happens is no matter what it is, because Thrive will do grants funding, will do community engagement, no matter what it is. When let's use funding for like a project because it's the easiest thing. Well, they have to hit milestones of value. And so we connect a builder with this funding from the ecosystem, and they're ready to submit their first milestone. Say it's like launch on Polygon or whatever. That's the first milestone. They submit it through our app. We have actually a great app stack. There's a incentives app, there's a grant funding app, and then there's a reviewer app. So they submit it within the grants app. It goes to our decentralized reviewer network. We call our reviewers guardians. Which is a credibly neutral group of people. They look at it and they have to come to consensus that this thing actually created value or not. If it did, funds get released to the builder and the project. If not, funds don't get released. So what that means is everybody who's participating in Thrive has to show that they've created impact with the funding that they've received in order to really receive the next tranche. So in that way, the ecosystems know all funds going through Thrive are creating impact, are creating a positive return on investment for their ecosystem. So that's how that works.
Excellent.
Sorry, Ryan, let me just jump in there quickly.
Yeah, sure.
So with regards to the funding, so builders will build without getting paid with the premise that they will get paid once they've provided something of value that the client wanted.
It's all different based on the ecosystems because, like I said, when we launch together, we have a board together. We kind of figure out the mechanics of how this works. A lot of times, some funding will be given upfront to jumpstart them, and then there's a quick milestone like launch. If you're a project where you're pretty close, or you've launched on another chain. It's not a huge lift to launch from one chain to another, or if you're at a test net stage to launch on mainnet, it's not a huge lift there. So usually that first milestone is a bit simple, but yeah, there's or a bit like easier to achieve. So yeah, it all depends. Kind of different ecosystems want different things, but a lot of times it would be, here's some upfront funding, get to the place where you can deploy to hit milestone 1. It unlocks your next milestone of funding, so you can hit milestone 2 and 3.
Okay.
Excellent. So I've read in some of Thrive's documentation about AI-powered validations and community-driven governance. That sounds really powerful, but how does that work under the hood?
Yeah, so one way that we are integrating AI into our system with validations, it's through our reviewer network. We actually have AI agents who are doing a certain level of review for these milestones of value that I've been talking about, like especially when they're simpler ones. As I mentioned, we do funding for large projects. We're doing funding for builders. It could be from 25,000 to 250,000, sort of depending on the ecosystem, what they're looking for, what life cycle the project is in. But we're also doing community engagement stuff too. Like a good example was our first season with Thrive Hedera, where Hedera had amazing projects that they wanted to show off, and so we would incentivize the community for doing fun things on these apps. Those type of, whether it's like screening for applicants looking for funding, or if it's community engagement, we employ AI agents who will kind of take that first stage of review. We're still testing all that because, and we found actually they're as accurate as humans at this point. So it's going to be kind of scary what happens in the future. But then, this whole thing, we're still building over time. So I would imagine I'm just like shooting from the hip here, but I imagine a future of what that's going to look like is AI would take a certain portion or be trusted with a certain portion of reviews based, and actually they would probably gain more and more trust, just like humans, based on their review score, how accurate they are. But then, I would imagine where at some point consensus may not actually tell the full story, and an applicant or someone who submitted a contribution, that's what we call it, or a milestone or something, they may not agree with the consensus and could challenge it, which may then go to a human. But at least, what we're seeing right now, at least on the smaller stuff or the screening stuff, AI is pretty formidable.
Fantastic.
Man, and tell me, with the Thrive protocol, with every system that's deployed, there's potential risks of bad actors, right? Someone farming for additional rewards, not really contributing the exact value that the user expects or the client expects. You alluded to that there is obviously a gatekeeper, which is a group of people that can kind of validate it. Are bad actor? Does your system, is it a bad actor fail safe? Do they fail safe systems, or are people trying to game the system? Is there a lot of people trying to game that system?
Oh, there are a lot of people trying to game the system. Yeah, for sure. A lot of Sybil attacks in particular. You'll see that, especially if we do community engagement type of stuff, when the rewards are maybe smaller, but like for anything big, like a milestone, or for funding for projects, that's not gameable at all, because it's there's just the eyeballs are very it's humans, or I mean AIs for screening, but like it's humans looking at this. You can't really game it. You'd have to corrupt the entire system somehow, and it just doesn't work that way. It's a consensus, like a milestone submission, because we're talking about, it could be like tens of thousands of dollars for a milestone. So it's consensus of reviewers. The way that we sort of put checks and balances on them on the front end is they have to get certified through Thrive, showing their expertise in a particular thing. Like you can get Thrive certified as like I said, we call them guardians, as a guardian, but you have to show that you could be a code guardian, but you have to show competency in code, or finance guardian, or governance, or content. you have to show competency, and it's the guardians themselves who are reviewing the new members of the ecosystem, to the network, to bring them on. So there's some like front end gatekeeping there. But then afterwards, whenever a submission goes through, it goes to the right badged guardian, but it's also random. So it's not like you can collude. Plus, you'd have to corrupt multiple levels and layers in there, multiple people in there in order to make it work. We haven't seen any corruption when it comes to like milestones, anything like really important. We have, of course, when it's like smaller things, rewards for doing things within a community or creating content, etc. Okay. And we just keep refining how that works. And I think over time, we'll challenge our own protocol to like figure out what the best options are. We have a method for that in place going forward, and in kind of the next phase of the organization, where we could give funding to outside groups to try to challenge our protocol to see if they can beat it. And if they beat it, then we can incorporate what they do. So there's a number of things in play. But yeah, I mean, we calculate, I can't remember all the numbers, but like we calculated, I remember doing this with ApeChain right when I first started, tens of thousands of dollars just in like a month or two that we saved by not allowing all these Sybil attackers to get funding, like by cutting them out through our review network. So it totally does work. Even though they're trying their best to overcome us.
Wow.
You guys are evolving. That's the main thing.
You have to. You really have to, because people keep getting smarter in playing the game. So you got to keep making sure the rules make sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. So kind of expanding on some of the stuff you were talking about. I mean, we all know the massive horror stories in crypto of, projects getting funded and then just disappearing with the money. so how does
Ryan, I think it's too soon. 47,000 Ethereum, just too soon.
Yeah, right. Too soon.
And North Korea have the other 47,000. That's right.
Oh, well, man. So how does Thrive make sure that funds are dispersed only when real value is delivered?
Because it's all on chain at this point. So they have to show. So like, maybe I'll just give you kind of a generic example, and things can be more complicated than this, but a lot of times the milestones are, especially if it's a startup project, and it's important for me to talk about this too. Like, a lot of people ask me what types of projects our partner ecosystems are looking for, or they'll actually say, what projects are Thrive looking for? And I'm just like, it's not Thrive, it's our partner ecosystems. Like we inform that and we help them, but they know best from their own community the types of projects or the type of organizations or communities or whatever they want to integrate. We just we help make sure that they're going to create impact. So the cool thing is about this situation is all of our ecosystems are vastly different from each other. So we fund projects in any vertical. We fund projects that are startups to projects that have a ton of traction. So Thrive is a place for builders. And if you're a builder in Web3, you should definitely get Thrive certified through Thrive so we can start sending you funding opportunities is the best way to go. But what we do is, so like most of it's on chain. So like a first milestone, as I mentioned before, might be deploy on a particular network. So say it's Polygon. Mm-hmm. Okay, launch your project on Polygon. The second milestone is usually something like show a certain amount of data. And it depends on the type of project. Different projects show impact in different ways. It could be daily active users. It could be transaction volume. It could be total value locked. We work with the project to know, okay, what metric would best explain the type of impact that you're trying to have, and then basically there'd be milestones pegged to that. And then the third milestone is just showing scale. It's like, okay, now we're at this level, can we take it to this level? And we work with the ecosystems to define those, and we work with the projects to define those that make sense for their vertical and the type of project that they are. And yeah, as long as they hit them, then funding gets released. And if they don't, sometime, like, these ecosystems want to be really friendly to builders as well. Mm-hmm. Like, we want to make sure that we're giving them positive ROI, but every single ecosystem that we partner with is saying we want to cater to builders. We love builders. They're the ones who are going to get us our crypto future. So if someone submits a milestone of value, it's not quite there, like, we'll help will help, either the ecosystem will or will help kind of figure that out to try to get them to the next level. And in terms of scaling to Thrive, like where we also are promoting our ecosystems and we're promoting our builders too. There's been over 1,700 builders funded through Thrive, so we can't do that with everyone, but we're surfacing them in live streams and demo days and on spaces, et cetera, to try to get the community to rally behind them as well. And so are the ecosystems, like whether it's Metis or Hedera, whatever, they're also promoting these projects as well to help try to get them to that next level, because it's in everybody's interest. But basically the way we can verify it is it's on chain.
That's excellent. So you're supporting the ecosystems and the builders and making them one big cohesive family, huh?
That's the thing is it's there's two sides of this marketplace. Like
Right.
if you look at it from one perspective, it almost sounds like, I don't know, like mean to builders, but it's not. It's like, we know these treasuries, we have to protect these treasuries. We have to make sure, think of the billions of dollars in these treasuries. We need to make sure that those are allocated to impactful projects so that we grow crypto. It's a simple calculus there. But from a builder perspective, we want them to know, as I mentioned before, that we are a builder protocol. And we know how hard it is to get funding if you're a builder in Web3. You got to figure out, okay, which ecosystem makes sense for me to deploy on? And then how do they do their funding? Is it some sort of work stream? And then do I have to do some sort of forum post or do a snapshot vote? Or is it a couple delegates that I have to cozy up to? And so suddenly I'm a marketer and I'm a politician and I just want to build my damn thing. And so we clean that up. Come to Thrive. Start.thriveprotocol.com is a good way for builders to onboard. There's a path for builders there. Get Thrive certified, which we can talk about a little bit more about that. And if you do that, then you're in our ecosystem. We know your vertical, we know where you are in the life cycle of your project, and then we can match it with the funding that makes sense through our partner ecosystems. And as I mentioned before, they're all different. They all want different things. Some of them want startups. Some of them want, a lot of traction, and everywhere in between. And so we can sort that for you to make it easy for you to apply for and receive funding.
It's awesome.
When a builder builds, right, let's just say a project comes in, they want to build a social engagement app to, push out their content, and they get rewarded through a little, almost like a Gleam or a Zleap, but an internal version, right? So they meet with you guys and say, hey, I'm ApeCoin. Hi, I want this, right? And you say, okay, cool. We're going to push it out to our community. Who determines how big this project is, how many hours it is? And do you go to the community and say, community, they want to do this, how many hours do you project it to be? Let's say 90 hours, and this one says 80, and you guys kind of say, all right, let's bid for it. What is that protocol of, because when it comes to developers, someone can sell you 500 hours and still not get their project done, and someone can give you 60 hours but charge you 10 times the price and get it done. So how does that work? Because unfortunately, developers are not, they're smart at what they do, but they're not smart business people because they mess it up for everybody else.
Yeah, who we're usually, that's funny.
So if you're a developer, I'd like to hear your comments below.
Right.
You're going to get some comments, I'm sure.
Bring it.
Well, that's not how we're usually engaging with devs. It's not usually one-on-one like that. I mean, I envision a future where we're also the hub where projects and devs and founders and builders can come together and find each other and launch projects together. But that's not really how we're engaging right now. What we're looking for is projects with developers who have already sort of defined their thing. So we're not like outbidding for hours. It's like if you've launched a DeFi app, or you want to launch a DeFi app, or you've launched a social app or whatever it is. But you already have your GitHub in place. You've got a go-to-market plan or a business plan. You come to Thrive, and we match you with the funding from the ecosystem that makes some more sense. So it's not like the ecosystems themselves are saying, we want to build this thing. It's we want these types of projects onboarded into our ecosystem, and then we help make sure that those projects, the impactful ones, are getting funded. So it's less like a developer. It's less like they're saying, oh, we need these new tools for our ecosystem. Sometimes it could be, and it's like, go find a project that embodies that. And so a lot of times, like, it's seasonality, how we do this, where like Polygon season 2 just launched, and it's like, okay, we want to fund, say, 30 projects that are all within this vertical. showing this type of impact, showing a bunch of daily active users or whatever it is. And then we go out and find the projects and match those projects to that funding source.
Excellent. So you've mentioned integrating with a lot of the top crypto ecosystems. Do you have any upcoming partnerships you can share with us? Or?
I can't share, but yes, we do. Yes. So that 70 million is outdated numbers, but I can't. Pretty soon, within the next week or two, we'll be announcing a new partnership. But yeah, our pipeline's pretty. It's a funny situation. It's like once the ecosystems kind of get it, and they're like, oh yeah, then the sell is kind of easy. Because here's the thing, like I mentioned this before, but it really is a problem. If you're an ecosystem and you have a large treasury, you have $1 billion in your treasury. I mean, that's amazing. You can build your ecosystem, but it's also a problem because how are you going to make sure that you're going to spend it efficiently so you don't kill your community? Like nothing's worse for a community is if they see the funds drain from their treasury and it's not bringing, like your community is not growing from that. You're not bringing more people. You don't have cool apps deployed in your ecosystem. You can't do fun things. Nothing's more, it's that makes you feel kind of about the situation. So it's hard for them to do though. Like anybody or any ecosystem can spin up like $100,000 grant, put a one person on it or two people on it or whatever, and they can manage that. They can go do the RFP process, find a good builder, and then sort of manage it all the way through. But to do that at scale, millions of dollars in a quarter or something like you'd have to spin up Thrive within your own ecosystem to do that. So once they realize that, it's like, yeah, then they sign on, which is why we've had so much growth. Like our year one, we had $1 million allocated to us. Year two, we had 12 million allocated to us. Year three, 70 million allocated to us, and that number is going up. So once they sort of get it, it makes sense for them, and then we launch.
Wow.
Matt, you guys don't have a token, right? So how do you guys charge? How do you guys kind of work in the space?
Great question. The ecosystems pay us a percentage of the allocated amount, and that's what we use to run our programs, to run Thrive, the business. So we're like one of the only profitable companies in crypto. A lot of times you're in crypto, you're
probably the only one right now.
You
Are you employing? Are you employing? Where you go?
Right.
For the right people. Yeah, I mean, so that's how it works. Thank you for asking that question too, because sometimes builders are confused and like, do you charge the projects for? No, the ecosystems value our service so much because they see the increase in their ROI that they pay us, and then it's a great job, I got to tell you, because I just go out talking to builders and say, I want to get you funded. Like it's not a hard sell. It's not. It's more like disbelief in the beginning. It's like, really?
Yeah. What do you want?
Yeah. What do you want from me? Nothing. Build something good, please. Here's funding. For the love of God. Yeah. But that's actually, that's actually really the challenge for Thrive. The challenge isn't getting ecosystems to partner with us and to trust us with millions from their treasury. The harder part is just making sure that enough builders know that we're the place to go to get funding, and that's a challenge that we've really had to face. Like say in the last 3 months or so, we did a really good job marketing our partnerships. So like our partnership with ApeCoin or Polygon or Arbitrum, we were really good about that, but not so good about marketing Thrive as a brand, as an organization, to be known as like the place for builders. Yeah. So that's why we started this Thrive Certified program. That's why I'm out there like a lot more often talking to builders, talking to groups, coming on great podcasts like yours, just to try to get the word out to say, listen, if you're a builder in crypto, please come to Thrive, get certified so we can get you funded. That's really the limiting factor, is making sure we reach enough builders.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely one of the things that we try to educate on each show. When we bring on guests, we're like, what are some of the things that you're frustrated about, like building in the space? What are some of the pitfalls? So we want dads, and we use the phrase dads, but it's anybody. It can be moms, it can be dads, it can be a builder, it can be anybody that, it could be a dad at home it's got his day job, but wants to kind of change the way he does things and dabble in this crypto space and know how to. And all, of course, the veteran guys, they're like, where do I go? I'm traditionally this, but how do I migrate my skill sets to learn a little bit of this? But to hear what you're saying, you're kind of speaking our language, because we want people to build in the space, to grow in the space, and to change their status quo. So very exciting. Like, listening to you is very, very exciting, especially for our community.
Thanks for saying that. And the other thing is, there aren't as many devs in crypto as you would think. It's something like 7,500 full-time devs in crypto. Like, that's nothing compared
Wow.
to
They're all Russian.
right.
I think we've spoken to about 7,400 of them.
Bring them to me, please. Bring them to me. I want to onboard them. But like,
No problem.
but we need to be a more attractive place for Web 2 devs. Because of course there's a lot of devs out there. They love being on, at least the ones that I know, they love like the puzzle of being on the cutting edge, the bleeding edge. And crypto is one of those. Crypto and AI are kind of the two places you can be, right? So we need to onboard Web 2 by making it easier for a Web 2 builder with a great idea to be able to launch on a chain. Even if they're doing it like part-time, like you could get funding that could, you could totally, like, if you've built it, keep working in your Web 2 job until it kind of takes off a little bit. We'd love to be the onboard for them as well, and get them funded in the right ecosystem so that they can start to migrate over into Web 3. It's really going to be the way of the future. I think we need to attract a lot of Web 2 devs to get them here.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely do our best to push them your way.
Thank you.
All right, crypto dads out there. Speaking about comments, this is the time where we say, all right, tell me, what are you guys building? Is it something interesting? Can we connect you to Thrive? All right, post a little comments down. You don't have to give us the whole detail, just a short summary of what you're building specifically in the crypto space, and could it really be changing the status quo? Obviously innovation is important. If we're going to get to a future where Matt describes, where things just work a whole lot better, it's going to need good ideas, right? Not something that you copied from your mate, or something that is not really, plausible in the space. So, share your comments below.
Absolutely. So Matt, a couple of times now you've mentioned Thrive Certified. Can you explain that to us and tell us what it takes?
Happy to, yeah. So we launched Thrive Certified in November of this last year, and it goes to, we did it because we realized that we needed to really be the community for builders in Web3. Like we needed to be the place where builders come to get their funding, and so we're all constantly trying to figure out how to streamline that process. I mentioned how hard it is before. If without Thrive, you're like figuring out the ecosystem and all that stuff. It's a pain. So we're constantly trying to figure out the way to make it more and more efficient for impactful builders. That's the thing. It's like, get funds into the hands of impactful projects and people as fast as you can to get the crypto future that we want. And so Thrive Certified, what it is it's a way for us to like figure out, learn about a project, and also understand where they are at in their life cycle, so that we can better place funding to them. And so what happens is builders go to start.thriveprotocol.com, and there's a builder path there. It takes you to an application, and it looks like a pretty standard application. Asks about the project, asks for some detail, who the principals are, et cetera, explain it, where the product market fit is. But then it gets to a place where it asks for you to choose a impact metric that makes the most sense for the type of project you are. I mentioned these before. It could be daily active users, or transaction volume, or TVL, or whatever it is. Choose it, and then show where you are at with that. So like prove. So if it's like, we have 100 daily active users, amazing. Like, let's link us to the on-chain data that shows us that. When you submit, it goes to our reviewer network, our guardians, who take a look, check it out, and then based on the impact that you can show, or the project can show, will rank you just like medals. So it'd be bronze, silver, gold, platinum, that describes the life cycle of where you are in the life cycle of your project. So a bronze would be a startup. Bronze and silver would kind of be startups. Silver's deployed somewhere. Gold's got some pretty good traction obviously Platinum's got a ton of traction. And knowing that information and knowing what vertical you're in, then, based on what the needs of the ecosystems are, we start sending you funding opportunities from them. So you get Thrive certified, and then as soon as we have new opportunities, it's like, hey, this would be a good fit for you. This would be a good fit for you. Let's get you funded here. And the cool thing is I mentioned this before. It's like the ecosystems are all looking for different things. It doesn't matter your vertical. Some of the ecosystems want to fund even communities. Like a good example of that is SheFi. SheFi is a group to onboard women into Web3. There is a course, and they do meetups and events and all sorts of things. Ecosystems that we partner with we funded SheFi. Or even like media groups have been funded. It just depends on the ecosystem. If you're a media group, you're working in Web3, there are ecosystems out there that have funded those types of projects through Thrive. It doesn't just have to be on chain if you're doing something in crypto. So, but anyway, Bronze would be more of a startup. So if you're at idea phase, that's okay too, because there are ecosystems like Metis is a good example. We did a bunch of startup in season 1 of Thrive Metis. I think we fund something like 40 startups, because Metis was really valuing getting more folks into Metis and kind of growing with the ecosystem. So that's okay. But I would just say, if you are a startup, then just make sure that you have to have a go-to-market plan, or there has to be some detail there. You can't just be like an idea in a prayer. Like, no, it's got to be
a little more than a napkin then.
A little more than that. But just so that people know, like, yeah, if you haven't launched yet and you're still like putting it together, that's okay. There are funding opportunities for you. So that's Thrive certified. So just any builder, any project out there, get your project Thrive certified, because then it makes it easy for us to start sending you opportunities that we have based on our partnerships.
That's amazing. So you heard it, guys. Get out there, get Thrive certified, and get funding for your projects. That's amazing. Yeah. So to zoom out a little bit, where do you see crypto communities and these ecosystems evolving to in the next maybe 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I just hope for a crypto future. So I want as much growth as possible. It's like if each one of these ecosystems grow, then crypto grows as a whole. That's just how it is. And I just want to imagine a world where we can limit the amount of funding that's going to Sybil, spams, fraud, like any of that stuff, anything that's not really valuable long term to the ecosystem. And so I imagine a future where Thrive is the kind of the value validation layer of crypto, where any type of interaction can go through Thrive, and our decentralized reviewer network of guardians are looking at it and determining, did this actually create the impact that it was supposed to? Yay, funding gets released, or nay, funding doesn't get released. If we can do that, we would route billions of dollars every year from not impactful to impactful. And really, because really the name of the game is just to make sure that impactful projects and people are getting funded. That is the name of the game. And that everybody else is, or anything else is not. So that's what I hope for. It's like at some point Thrive is, because you can even abstract away like Thrive as the funding mechanism and partner, like that's one thing, but you can abstract away to our credibly neutral, decentralized, reviewer network. And maybe there's a possible future where all these ecosystems, even if they're not using Thrive directly to allocate the funding, but they should, because we have the expertise doing it, they could still put anything through our decentralized reviewer network and make sure that anything that they're doing is, any funds that they're putting out is actually creating impact. So because of Thrive, I'm very optimistic. I mean, I'm optimistic anyway, but I'm very optimistic. This is a huge problem right now in crypto that we're tackling. And I, if we do this successfully, then I think we make a huge impact. We start growing at a much faster clip, which is what I'm hoping for.
Absolutely. Yeah. Eliminating all the junk and focusing on the good stuff is definitely what this community needs, our whole ecosystem.
I can almost see, projects that are launching, like they say, ecosystems that have just launched. Now they're trying to get adoption and then traction on their platform, right? I can almost see them, generally they want to keep everything in-house. It's mine. You know, you got to go through me. You got to do it a certain way. But imagine if they were a little bit more open and, you know, pitching out, well, I've got an ecosystem. These are the specific topics that I'm looking at. Maybe there's like a one step before that says, well, I want to create AI agents to run this, to do 20 transactions a day, right? Simple. Then a community member can say, well, let me throw some ideas down. Let me put it in there, right? And then the ecosystem can come in and say, I like that, but this is more my style. And then perhaps fund that on a different level. So it's taking ideas that they don't have time to kind of unpack it, allowing the community to unpack it, and then if they're a builder, or maybe then take it to the next phase. So you can almost fund a contributor of knowledge, like maybe a conceptual concept, then it goes to the developer, and then the developer gets funded. So almost like a tiered structure. I'd really think a place like Supra, they've just launched and they've got some amazing stuff, but they're so busy. You can't really get hold of them, right? They're jam-packed, but they need people building. But the problem is the community is so tight that they don't have time to reach out to everybody. So imagine using Thrive to say, these are the 10 areas that I think will be a massive impact on the ecosystem that can create transactions and build and do and fund them, because they do have money for funding. I just see, and that's just one ecosystem. Imagine everything else that's launching.
I'm glad you brought this up, Sean, because this is what's happened. Like, there are projects out there, like Zion is a great example. Zion, before they launched their token, we had a partnership with Zion. So they had a sense of, when they launched, what type of projects would help move their ecosystem forward before they ever launched.
Wow.
I mean, they were on, or they didn't launch their token. They had launched on I think testnet, and their token was launched yet. So they were already building community, but they partnered with Thrive because, like, hey, run part of our ecosystem fund, because we know we're going to have these things that we need when we launch. This is actually this is becoming a more common track. There's other ecosystems that we're in talks with, who we might be launching soon, that have the exact same idea. I think that's exactly right. It's like, they know what needs to be done. A lot of times these ecosystems that are launching are small too, like the folks who are actually launching it. There might be teams of 5 to like 15 people. So of course they can't do, they're not gonna be able to build all the stuff that they need. So how do they do it? They've got to fund. Let's go attract the right projects who are going to do that stuff. You're exactly right, Sean.
Awesome. So Matt, what's the next thing for Thrive Protocol? What are some of the milestones that you guys are planning? I know $1 billion is definitely one of them, but what are some immediate ones that you guys are busy working on?
Yeah, we're just really full court press right now, building our builder community. That's the thing. That's what we realized. It was before, the kind of our posture was, every time we would launch a new initiative or new partnership, we would then say, like, 2 weeks to go find all the great builders and get them funded. And then they would go through, we would sort of decide as a board which ones were the right fit. And then we would do a launch with the 3 milestones, and then maybe kind of a wrap up and a demo day, and in sort of this nice package season. Doesn't work well that way though, because nothing's ever on time, number one. But number two, we realize, like, it hurts on 2 levels doing it that way. Number one is, it's hard. Like, if you're only searching for great and impactful projects, and people in 2 week, truncated sort of BD type of pushes, that's not going to work at all. Like, we realized we needed to, like, just let's build a community. Let's get as many impact. We want thousands, all 7,500 full-time devs in their projects, like in the Thrive community. It would just be massively more efficient to allocate them funding if we did that. So we really changed our approach there. But also, the old approach hurt the builders too, because then they would have kind of a truncated amount of time to do all their milestones, and it was like rushing to try to get all that done, and then everything would always be sort of late. So the biggest thing, one of the biggest things that's happening is sort of internally changing how we go about our onboard process, to just make it a lot more efficient and to go out there and expand our network. And then just trying to think about it in terms of scale. Once we realized that kind of the rate that we were growing, and sort of where that takes us within the next months to year, even 2 years, we realized we just needed to be a much more efficient process internally. So we're doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff to really hit that. And then, as well as, like, changing the way that we go about marketing the brand. As I said before, we were really just doing a very good job marketing our partnerships, but not ourselves. And so there are the brand for two things. Actually, I'll tell you both. One is that we are the largest cross-chain builder funding protocol in crypto. There's no one bigger than us, but there are groups out there that have bigger names. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like we funded 1,700 builders,
Right.
So we have to change that, which we're working on very hard. Part of that is me going out, but then also just changing kind of our narrative and marketing approach, whatever. But then the other part is like people who have heard of us or don't, it's not the easiest. It's an easy concept, Thrive, when we're having this type of conversation. If we do it in a space or like long form, very easy to like get it. But on first blush, if someone just looks at a tweet or something, or have heard of us in this space, they're like, "Isn't Thrive like grants? Don't they do grants or don't they do questing like a quest platform?" And it's like, no. And the reason why, I mean, yeah, we can do those things, but the reason why it's different is our reviewer network. Everything that Thrive does, everything that's submitted through Thrive, any interaction goes through the reviewer network, and it's made sure that it's created impact. And if not, it doesn't get funded. That's not what happens in any other grants program or grants protocol. That's not what happens in any questing protocol. So you get a lot of bots and spam, and you can skew stuff pretty easily that way. You can't do that through Thrive. So that's a major difference. And we want people to know that, not just our ecosystems that we're trying to onboard, but also all the builders. This is the place for impactful builders. Like we're not the place for scammers and fraud and spam. Like we're for impact.
Create real value for your customer, for your clients, and they'll love you forever.
That's right.
Simple.
That's excellent.
That's right. Yep.
So, Matt, this has been a great episode. We've learned so much about Thrive. For our listeners that want to jump into Thrive, any developers out there, where's the best place to start, and where can people follow you and get updates?
Yeah, a great question. So most of crypto is on Twitter. So at Thrive Protocol, follow that. You can see, we have all the links to what you need right there at Thrive Protocol on Twitter. But then the URL, a great place to start is start.thriveprotocol.com. It's just a landing page. It's got 3 different paths. One is if you want to be a guardian. I talked about that before. You can become a certified guardian and earn by doing all these fun reviews. I use our reviewer app. We didn't really talk about the technology. Sorry to tangent, but our technology is really good. I love our reviewer app. I go in, I do reviews. It makes me feel awesome because I'm a little bit of a sleuth, and I'm like, wait, is this project going to create impact, or did this project create impact? And it's like you're protecting sort of the sanctity of your partner ecosystems by doing this. So anyway. If you want to be a guardian, that's a great place. Start.thriveprotocol.com, but also builders, and highly recommend anybody who's got a project in crypto get Thrive certified. As I mentioned a few times, it's the best, it's the easiest way for us to communicate you funding opportunities. And once you're in and certified, then it's forever. We can just as new ecosystems, as new seasons start, as new partnerships come on, we can just keep sending you the options that make the most sense for your project. So follow us on Twitter and get certified at start.thriveprotocol.com.
Awesome.
Crypto dads, are you listening? We've been chatting every Friday for the last couple of years, and you have an opportunity now to get funded. It's not an opportunity to maybe get a job, to maybe pitch, to become a politician in the company. No, there's someone that wants to give you money. That's awesome. All right, so sharpen your skills, get certified, get on the list. If you're a builder, go to Thrive Protocol and check it out. Do your homework, first of all. And if you're an up-and-comer that doesn't know exactly where to start, where to begin, all right, hit up the question and say, where do I start? What do I need to do to become a junior builder, to get on the radar, maybe take on small little projects, get a bit of meat, and then kind of push through. So, but either way, there's money available, all right, so go and get it, all right? Your perfect opportunity to work your 9 to 5, and in the evenings, build a little bit for someone else, get that money, invest it in Bitcoin, not financial advice, and, take your status to the next level. All right, guys, and without further ado, Matt, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your time, and please keep growing and keep employing. And would love to have you back on the show as you guys hit more milestones and take it to that next level.
That sounds great. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Ryan.
It's been great having you on the show, Matt. Thanks a lot. And looking forward to learning about everything Thrive has coming up here. And can't wait to see you again in the future. Thanks. See you guys.
Cheers, guys. Ciao.
The material and information presented in this recording are for entertainment purposes only. Do not misconstrue what you hear as investment or trading advice. Always do your own research. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by the guests on this recording are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of Dad's Gone Crypto or its hosts.